Hi everyone, this is Yvette Flores and I'm a digital marketer and partnerships coordinator here at ONE400. And I'm really excited about this live stream series that we're gonna start producing for you guys. So I hope you'll be joining us. We're gonna try to do this really often, and we're gonna let you know in advance just so you can be ready for it. And today I'm actually with our CEO and founder. He's Alan Rodriguez. Most of you already know him as the head of ONE400, and he's the one who's actually making this company work. And he has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about legal industry. So he's going to share a little bit of that from us. So welcome, Alan, to the live stream, to our first live stream.
Thanks for setting it up, Yvette. I really appreciate it. I've been meaning to connect, better connect with our audience a little bit more, and I'm hoping this will be the platform for it.
Okay, I'm excited so that we're starting this and that you're here with us. So you're like the godfather of the project. And for those of you that haven't met you yet, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your work in the legal industry and the experience that you've had?
Sure, I appreciate it. So Alan Rodriguez, and founder and CEO of ONE400. We're a law innovation agency that creates digital experiences to help law firms and legal tech companies connect with people who need their services. Before founding ONE400, I was the director of attorney services at LegalZoom. And from about 2008 to 2012, I was charged with helping them go from a do-it-yourself provider or solutions provider to a more comprehensive legal solution. So basically building a network of attorneys to create products that were fulfilled by attorneys. Did that for 4 years, generated substantial numbers of dollars in revenue, in terms of revenue, had a really good time and was inspired to start ONE400 from there. Before that, my career in the legal industry began at the LA County Bar Association. So I ran the LA County Bar Lawyer Referral and Information Service for about 10 years. Took them from about $500,000 to about $2 million in revenue by their ability to split fees with attorneys through a certified referral service. So really kind of learned the economics of law, learned how to leverage operational changes and technology changes to facilitate these connections of people needing legal services. So I've got about 21 years total. Currently, I'm part of the National Advisory Council for the Chicago Bar Foundation's Sustainable Law Practice Initiative, a board member of the Group Legal Services Association as well.
Okay, so as you can see, guys, he has a lot of experience, and I think that most of us have a lot to learn from him. So regarding trends that you're currently seeing in the industry, what are some of them that you really think that we should keep an eye on?
A couple of things. One, I think as let me talk on the law firm side for a little bit, right? So on the regulatory side, there are 5 states now that are considering these ABS, alternative business solutions, rule changes to the rules of professional conduct that will allow law firms to better align themselves with allied professionals, which I would consider myself one of those people, to kind of change the way legal services are delivered and then accessed by consumers, with the hoping that this actually provides a better experience for the end user and reduces the barrier of entry for many of the services, in particular costs, right? So I think as the regulatory environment changes, the idea is going to be that law firms have to kind of innovate a little bit more to kind of meet the demands of those changes, right? So I think law firms aligning themselves with allied professionals is one of the things that we're going to see in the future. I think currently now, one of the trends that we're seeing is better adoption of legal technology, right? Like, so COVID has done more to force law firms to adopt technologies to service their clients than all of the, the preaching and the education around like why we should do this to create a better experience. And so now we're seeing that law firms have to adopt like something as simple as like accepting credit cards online, allowing their customers to kind of pay their bills online. as opposed to mailing stuff. People don't want to go to the post office and expose themselves, all that sort of thing. Video consults, right? Worrying about cybersecurity, getting hacked, all those sorts of things are also important. Being able to deliver legal services online through client portals. And then finally, one area that we've been particularly passionate about is subscription legal service offerings for law firms. So that is an emerging area that's creating recurring revenues, especially for business-oriented firms, though there's applications in like consumer-facing firms as well. That's an area that we're really excited about for a number of reasons. Creates recurring revenue for law firms, which increases profitability, but also reduces the barrier of entry for people that need access to those legal services. And quite honestly, it's consistent with our mission, right? Like, ONE400, we want to contribute to a world where people have better access to justice.
Yeah, I do like a lot that model of subscription services, and that's a topic that we're certainly going to be covering a lot in the future. So you should be expecting a couple of episodes regarding that subject. And you said you talked a little bit about COVID and how it affected the legal industry, but I just have this quick question. Do you think the legal industry was ready for these changes that we're implementing, or how did you think it was handled from your knowledge of the industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think some firms were well prepared, right? Some firms have already been migrating to the cloud. Like those firms, already had like online payment systems, things like that. I do feel like they were still the minority, right? Like I don't mean the small minority, but the if 50% is the median and 40% would be the minority, right? So I don't know the exact number, but I feel that they were the minority. I will say this though, the firms stepped up and did it, and they pivoted well. I am not aware of a particular firm that has just gone under, because they weren't able to make the transition. I do know of a few firms that like just retired. They're just like, I don't want to deal with it, that sort of thing. But I do think those were the exception, not the norm. So I do think, like, as an indication of the legal industry being very resilient, they stepped up, when they had to kind of make the change. And a lot of them, they worked as hard as they needed to kind of do that and make that happen. So kudos to the industry. I think we made it happen in a short while.
Yeah, that's great. And so I know that everything's going to be coming back to normality pretty soon because of the vaccine and everything. But do you really think this is a model that we should be adopting and using on a daily basis? I know that legal tech tells us that we should be online and we should be increasing the ways that we use the artificial intelligence softwares and everything. But do you really think this is something important to implement once we get back to normal?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to go away. I mean, one of the things that I learned when I was at LegalZoom, this was back in 2008, right? Consumers enjoyed pricing predictability, right? Consumers enjoyed the convenience of shopping from home. Consumers enjoyed being able to learn about a service offering, right? Like online on their convenience, on their mobile device. And then the shopping experience was much more delightful than driving across town. Like if you're a law firm in Chicago right now, right? Like there's snow on the ground. And if you have to, if you're trying to get a living trust and you have to drive across town in freezing cold weather, find parking, pay that, fill in a paper form, give that to somebody, they type it into a computer and then output retainer agreement. Like that's so much friction, right? Like, so way back in 2008, like when I was at LegalZoom, consumers wanted that experience, like a seamless user experience. But what they really wanted was a lawyer to do that for them. And that was the limitation, right? And that's why LegalZoom said, hey, we have to incorporate attorneys into our product portfolio because people like the convenience that we've created for them, like an online shopping experience. But at the end of the day, they want a trusted advisor, a professional that's really kind of guiding that effort, right? So like, that's never going to go away. That's existed pre-COVID. So I don't think that'll change, like in a post-COVID area. And then like operationally, like work, I mean, I don't know, lots of organizations have downsized their offices, like ONE400 downsized our office. Like we've got a new smaller office. We're a virtual first organization. And what I'm seeing with law firms is the future might just be more of a flexible workforce, right? Because as we start to measure productivity in terms of like tasks completed in our practice management software or other things like that, then it really doesn't become necessary to kind of look over somebody's shoulder to see that they're kind of doing the work, right? The data indicates they either got it done or they didn't, and in which case we can manage remotely effectively as well. So I don't think those things are going to change.
Okay, so this is definitely something exciting to look forward to. And now changing a little bit the topic, I also know that you participated on the State Bar of California's Access to Innovation of Legal Services. So what were some of the things you did on the task force, and what were some of the takeaways that you got from your time there?
Yeah, it was really fun time. I was really impressed with the experience of my colleagues, their backgrounds. I would hand it, get some kudos to the State Bar of California. They did a really good job of creating a very diverse panel of not just gender diversity, but also in experience and perspective. So I really enjoyed my participation, from that perspective. One thing that I feel we kind of didn't accomplish, right? And I'll hold myself accountable here, is that we weren't able to fully convey why we were doing this, right? And so the idea behind the ATILS task force, was the Access Through Innovation of Legal Services task force, was that we, as a committee and the legal industry arguably kind of understands that the rules of professional conduct are part of the reason why there's maybe a lack of innovation in the legal space amongst law firms, right? Because the penalties for doing something wrong as a lawyer are extreme. Like you lose your license, you're barred from practicing, you get public reprimand, that sort of thing. And so because of that extreme kind of nature of the penalties, like that might dissuade a lawyer from kind of pursuing some innovative kind of pushing the limits, right? So we were gathered there to address that, right? Because legal tech companies are coming, right? There are the LegalZooms, the Rocket Lawyers, the Avos of the world that are generating, that have valuations of billions of dollars. They're already here. And what lawyers have done to some degree with the rules of professional conduct, they wrote this themselves, right, is painted themselves into a corner. They've kind of tied their own hands, right? So that's what we were trying to convey. Like, hey, we want to meet here to look at what parts of those rules can change so that way you could innovate more confidently, and you can compete more effectively, and you can align yourself with an allied professional if you want to. That was the goal. But the takeaway, surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, I don't know, but the takeaway was, this is a threat to our business. This is a threat to our livelihood. If you do this, the big tech companies are going to come in and steal our business. And the reality was, they kind of already have, right? Like, I don't know of another firm outside of like McKenzie Baker. Well, I think like the top 3 law firms are in the billions of dollars of revenue. But outside of those, like, most people don't have valuations of $1 billion, but these tech companies already do, right? So like, if law firms were going to take back some of that revenue that belongs to them anyway, then these rules kind of had to change. And so like, but we didn't get that across. What people heard instead was like, hey, this is going to be disastrous for the industry, that sort of thing. And so the initiative got pulled back a lot because those voices were louder than our own. But other states like Arizona has listened, Utah has listened. There's 5 other states that are kind of moving a little bit more quickly on this initiative. I think it's like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, as they say. This stuff is happening. And so I would just kind of encourage people to listen to that original message a little bit more. That was my biggest takeaway from that.
Okay, so you talked about something that was kind of interesting for me. You talked about how big tech companies are absorbing the business from smaller law firms. So do you think it's important for the smaller law firms to adopt the technology that already exists, or to try to innovate and create a product that they can use by themselves? Which one do you think would be better for a
That's a
law
really
firm?
great question. That's kind of a loaded question because I don't think there's like one particular answer, but like, so yesterday we just gave this class at the Chicago Bar Foundation on the JEP program, right? So the Chicago Bar is creating the sustainable law practice thing. And here's the thing, I love working with small law firms. Why? Because they're true entrepreneurs. They're going out there, they hang up a shingle, they're serving small businesses, they're serving like consumers every day. And I just kind of value that, you know, myself as a person. But also they can move very quickly. Like they're natural entrepreneurs, they're risk takers by nature of like starting their own practice. So getting back to your question, should they adopt like third-party solutions or create their own? I think at the very least, law firms should leverage existing third-party solutions for the benefit of their clients, right? So for example, if you have a small business client that's shopping around, say they're looking for a new manufacturer for their product or something like that, and they reach out to you, they're like, hey, I'm a little worried that these manufacturers might steal my idea or something like that. And the attorney might advise them, well, you should, you know, this is what an NDA is for, I can draft you one, right? Well, that NDA, whether it's a mutual, unilateral, or something like that, like that document doesn't change all that much, right? Like it's pretty static. What changes are like the name, the date, the address of like the recipient, things of that nature. Well, software can take care of that, right? And so it's kind of friction if the customer has to come to you, you pull up your template, you change that, you email it back to them, right? And instead, what that customer is likely to do, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to keep it in my like email and I'll just use it. Like, but then that customer, if they do it that way, they'll fat finger the thing, or they'll delete a clause by accident. They'll start playing lawyer because they have a template. Well, what a lawyer can do then in that case, like, look, I'm gonna tell you, you just need a mutual NDA for this. I'll tell you what, here's a link to my online form where you can fill this out, right? Input like your name, recipient name, and then click submit, and then we'll email you a PDF of the most current version all the time, so you don't make those errors, that sort of thing. And then the attorney could, like the servicing small businesses, could have that in a client portal, right? And the client could log in and, you know, get that service every time. Like maybe you charge per use, or maybe you charge a subscription that allows the small business owner to kind of get that whenever they need, right? Like that's very convenient. It's a way of changing the way legal services are delivered using technology, and improving the customer experience. So that's an example of how you don't have to reinvent the wheel, create some new AI, and at the very least, lawyers should start there. That said, we do have some examples of small firms that have been very creative in how they approach to solving, delivering value. One of them is like access to information. So lawyers have information that many others find it hard to acquire. And so some lawyers, like, they make that information available, and that itself is a product, right? Maybe it's a curated list of content that's only accessible to existing clients. Maybe it's a high value newsletter or something like that. It doesn't have to be complicated. We're not talking AI here, but yeah.
Okay, well, just to wrap up this interview, I just wanted to ask you one more question, which is, what are some practical things law firms can do to create a sustainable law practice?
Well, some of the things that like I had mentioned in the previous answers. So I would say leverage existing technologies to improve the customer experience. I think be deliberate in how you approach servicing your client, right? A lot of law is based around operational necessities related to the lawyers, right? Like, you know, in other words, like, hey, the law requires me to, you know, do litigation in a certain way, and you build that experience around the lawyers, what's convenient for them. And when that happens, the client might not get a call back at a convenient time, or they might not receive a communication the way they want to receive it, right? Like maybe it's a WhatsApp message or something like that, right? So I would say think about your law practice, because after all, without clients, we have no business, right? And so like, I would say, if you really want to create a sustainable law practice, think about the buyer journey, right? Like, think about what it's like to walk in your customer's shoes and what that experience is like. And for some people, like actually when we were at the Atlanta Legal Tech conference, we actually recommended this where, think about it. Like, think about what it's like acquiring services from you and then do that. And one lawyer actually drove across town and she tried to drive to her own office at the hour where people normally make appointments so she can experience what the traffic was like, experience what the parking was like, experience what the ride up the elevator was like, experience what the inbound process. And she really kind of like dialed in her buyer journey. And by kind of really understanding that, she was able to like redesign and focus her practice around the customer experience. I mean, client-centered practice first, I'm not the first person to kind of mention this, like leadership over at Clio has kind of talked about the client-centered practice a lot as well. But when we work with firms that are very successful at this, they usually have a client-focused practice mindset first.
Okay, I do agree that this client-centered law firm is it's a topic that we should be focusing on in more episodes. So I think this is it for this one. I really want to thank you, Alan, for being here. And to you guys, thank you for watching this video, for joining this live stream. And also you can leave your comments on what other topics would you like us to discuss about. And that's it for me. Thank you so much, Alan. I don't know if you have anything else to tell.
No, I appreciate you setting this up. This was fun. Look forward to doing more of this, not just with me, but with the other team members here at ONE400.
Yep. Okay. So hopefully we're going to see you pretty soon. Bye, guys.
Right. Bye.